Now that we've seen how Western governments and corporations built up Iraq militarily and how the Bush administration tried to cover its tracks, let's take a brief look at another example: U.S. military and economic support for Mobutu in the resource-rich former Belgian colony of Zaire. Mobutu's looting of the treasury in Zaire has put him in a class of his own among the world's dictators. Dr. William Close first went to Zaire as a physician in 1960. It was the same year the CIA helped overthrow the government of that newly independent country, which is slightly more than a quarter the size of the United States. For 16 years, Dr. Close was able to observe Mobutu from close up, as chief doctor of the army and Mobutu's physician.
Along with the economic problems that the country ran into, he tried to go through a period of Zaireanization. That's when he changed his name, and where everybody had Zairean names. That's when he, for all intents and purposes, appropriated everybody's property and gave it to his cronies, which was a disaster.
A new word, kleptocracy, was invented to describe Mobutu's rule by thievery.
I think the kleptocracy started at that point, where other dictators would do away with people by killing them. He bought them off.
But, adds Dr. Close, corruption is a two-way street.
I think one of the things that the American, our regime, our administrations in the past have done is shamelessly corrupted people we wanted to have as clients.
Newly arrived Ambassador Dean Hinton asked Dr. Close in 1974 what he thought were Zaire's real needs.
And I said, well, I think the real needs of this country are that the women, the mothers and the fathers have some tiny hope that the situation with their children will be better than theirs. And I think upon that depends stability, the stability of the country depends. And he said, well, that's the sort of answer I'd expect from a doctor. And I said, well, Mr. Ambassador, you've been here 2 days. Now, what do you think is the most important thing? He said, the Army needs better equipment.
Mobutu has remained in power with the help of a U.S.-trained Army, American arms, and more than $1 billion in U.S. economic aid. Congress, not the President, suspended military aid, but not arms sales, to Zaire in 1990. In 1993, 43 authoritarian governments received American arms. Some of these arms were sold to them, while others were given as military aid. America's biggest arms buyer today is the medieval government of Saudi Arabia. What will happen if a pro-democracy movement arises in that latest pillar of U.S. policy in the region? The United States continues to sell arms for influence, especially in the Third World, as well as for profits and jobs. But there are alternatives. Dr. William Close's long experience in Zaire has led him to conclude,
I think that the American government right now needs to do what the previous administration did not do, and that is to come out loud and strong with a policy that declares that the United States does not support in any way dictators, especially tyrants, who have become obstructive to the chaotic and sometimes violent process of democratization in a country. Even if they were very useful clients in the past,